Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really wild story about a tech giant that, let's be honest, a lot of people had written off. But it turns out they're making one of the smartest and boldest plays in the entire AI race.
So, if I ask you who's building the massive infrastructure behind the AI revolution, a few names probably pop into your head, right? Amazon's AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. They're the kings of the cloud, no question. But, well, it turns out that's not the whole story.
The really surprising answer, the company that is quietly becoming a monster in AI compute, is Oracle. Yeah, you heard me right. That Oracle, the old-school database company that everyone thought completely missed the boat on the cloud. So, how on earth did they do it? Let's get into it.
Okay, to really get this, you have to remember where Oracle was just a few years ago. For decades, they were this database behemoth, but they were famously late to the cloud party. Their cloud business OCI was kind of seen as a distant fourth-place player. And then, the generative AI boom happened, and it changed literally everything.
You see, when AI created this desperate scramble for computing power, the market ran out of capacity. And this is where Oracle made its move, a really dramatic pivot. Before 2023, they were playing it small, signing these short 2 to 3 year data center leases. But when that AI gold rush hit, they went all in. We're talking massive, long-term leases of 10, even 15 years. It was a super risky bet that their bigger competitors just weren't willing to make.
And when I say risky, I mean this was a company-altering gamble. Oracle didn't just dip a toe in the water, no. They did a full-on cannonball into the deep end, basically betting the entire future of their cloud business on this one aggressive strategy.
Just look at this number. In a little over a year, Oracle committed to leasing about 2 gigawatts of data center capacity. Now, to put that in perspective, that made them the single largest renter of data center space in the entire United States during that time. It was a completely unprecedented land grab for power.
And the price tag for this bet? This new capacity costs them about $3 billion a year. That is more than their entire cloud business made in revenue back in 2022. They were betting more than they were making, all on the hope that the customers would show up. So, did the gamble pay off?
Oh, it absolutely did. Because Oracle had capacity ready to go when nobody else did, they became the go-to provider for some of the biggest and frankly most power-hungry players in the entire AI world. They landed 2 absolute whales. The first is OpenAI, through that huge deal you might have heard about called Stargate. But the second one, and this one might be even more important, is ByteDance, the company behind TikTok. This one flies under the radar, but get this. ByteDance is actually Oracle's single largest GPU customer.
But here's where things get a little weird and confusing. You might see headlines or even hear Oracle's own chairman, Larry Ellison, say that no Stargate contracts have actually been signed yet. And this has led a lot of people to believe there's some giant, unbooked deal just waiting on the horizon. But that's not really what's happening.
This shows a huge gap between what people think is going on and the reality. The myth is that Stargate is some future $500 billion project. The reality is that Stargate is simply the internal code name for the very real, very massive 880-megawatt deal Oracle already has with OpenAI in Texas. And that deal, valued somewhere between $15 to $20 billion, is already on the books.
And while everyone's been focused on the OpenAI story, the ByteDance deal has been literally transforming entire regions. All that demand for Oracle's GPUs has been the main reason why Johor in Malaysia has become the #2 AI data center hub on the entire planet. That's a deal on the same scale as anything the big US cloud providers are doing.
So we know Oracle had the capacity. But how did they actually win these huge price-sensitive deals? It wasn't just that they were available, they were also cheaper. And that all comes down to a few key kind of secret advantages in how they build their stuff.
Their winning formula really boils down to 3 things: a much smarter networking setup, buying their hardware directly from the manufacturers, and having access to cheaper money than their competitors. But that first one, networking, that's the real game changer.
Okay, check this out. This is their biggest secret weapon. Most big GPU clusters use this really complex 3-layer network. Oracle designed a simpler 2-layer system. The result? A staggering 61% reduction in the cost of their networking. That alone gives them a 17% advantage in total cost of ownership. That's the full cost to run the hardware. In a market where every penny counts, a 17% edge is absolutely massive. And on top of that, they save even more by buying server parts directly from places like Foxconn, cutting out middlemen like Dell. And because they're a huge, stable company, they can borrow money way more cheaply than newer, venture-backed rivals. It's really a multi-pronged attack on cost.
So, Oracle makes this huge bet, they land the biggest customers, and they do it with a secret cost advantage. The story seems destined for a happy ending, right? Well, the road ahead is a lot more complicated than it looks.
I mean, just look at the projections. Based on their current path, analysts are forecasting this stunning, almost vertical revenue growth for their GPU business over the next few years. Everything is pointing up. It looks like a totally unstoppable machine.
But is it really? Is Oracle's dominance in this one part of the AI world actually sustainable for the long term? The answer is far from certain.
And here's the catch. First, what Oracle is selling is basically a commodity. It's just raw computing power. And that makes the whole industry ripe for a brutal price war once supply finally catches up with demand. Second, there's no real software lock-in. Customers like OpenAI can just pack up and move to another provider pretty easily. And finally, there's this huge financial risk hidden in their accounting. Their profits depend on these super expensive GPUs lasting 5 years. If new tech makes them obsolete in, say, 4 years, Oracle could be looking at multi-billion-dollar write-offs.
So, it all comes down to this. Oracle played the AI gold rush perfectly. They were selling the shovels, or in this case, the GPU clusters to all the miners. Right place, right time, right strategy. But the gold rush phase never lasts forever. The real question is, can they survive the brutal, commoditized price war that almost always comes next? That's going to be the true test of this incredible comeback story.